So I have to say, first,
congrats.
And
congratulations.
I have to get this out of my way before I forget to mention it. I was so happy. I was so damn happy that it took like 14 to 16 years for them. Well, before I get out of the way, I am very happy that this happened. It took a long ass time for it to finally get to this conclusion, and I can happily say that I got teary at the end of this. I was legit emotional. There's a specific scene, and I have the picture of it because I have to show it because I did not expect it to hit me nearly as hard as it did. And it's 2 seconds between two characters where all they do is show one still frame in the background, and it hit me like a brick wall. But I do have to say, this I swear it was done out of spite, because Otto knew in the back of his mind, somehow, some way, some freaking kid named Brock Hatfield would get really irritated every time I did it. They had to have Mari mispronounce Longinus within the last 20 minutes of this damn film! One last time! After knowing how to pronounce it right there. I know I'd forget if I didn't mention it. Damn it! It had to happen. Mike, one last time, say the damn synopsis of an Evangelion media property.
Okay, so the fourth and final installment of the Rebuild of Evangelion film series is Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0, Thrice Upon a Time. In this installment, Shinji Ikari is still adrift after losing his will to live, but the place he arrives at teaches him what it means to hope. Finally, the Human Instrumentality Project is set in motion, and Ville makes one last grueling stand to prevent the final impact. The entire series, but this specifically it was a journey. It was a long journey, but ultimately it was worth it.
This film might be the most beautifully and insanely animated thing I have seen in my entire life. I said this in the chat, but my God, I hope that studio took a vacation. Because I felt my wrist getting carpal tunnel watching this.
Oh, yeah.
Just in the start. When they go to retrieve that stuff from that nerve center, and you have Mari on that pinwheel axis fucking wire job, whatever, fighting all those mass-produced, what were they, 42s? Yeah. Even though the subtitles called them something else, they called them 42s instead the subtitles were 44s. But like seeing her pinwheel around and then fight all those, and listening to Mari make sound effects while she was fighting Mari is the best pilot that show's ever had.
she is a dork, and I love her.
She was the best thing to happen out of these freaking films. Outside of Otto getting the ending he wanted, she was the best addition they ever made. Because again, like Mike just said, she's the biggest dork, and she's the one person who is genuinely enjoying operating an Evangelion.
Yep. It's an ending. It's an actually satisfying ending for Evangelion.
Yeah.
Who would have thought it would actually come to fruition that it was actually satisfying? It didn't just slap us in the face because the show decided to take a turn halfway through the series, and then Anno got mad because nobody liked the ending. And now we get one that makes him happy.
Yeah.
And not only that, but he actually gets to mature the characters, and we'll get more into that later.
Yeah, I have a lot, and I want us to go through all this because a shit ton happens in this film. Obviously, it's 155 fucking minutes long, and it's just at the end of this film, I was like I felt like in a box seat at a sporting event cheering for Shinji Ikari. And I
Right.
did not think there was any amount of writing that was going to get me that jazzed for Shinji to do something. Like, I always, like, I got what they were trying to do with the character, but this was like, you finally nailed it. And the best part about it was they changed at the end who they were trying to change. And it was the simplest thing ever. The fix for the end of the show was so damn simple, and it was right there, and they just didn't do it till now.
It's
Yep.
taken 25 years to get the ending that we deserved.
And it was shocking when it finally hit me. I'm like, that makes perfect sense. That is absolutely what the point of, like, and rethinking about the old films again, we're going to get to it. They tried to show this, but they made the center point on the wrong character to show this plot point, and they didn't do that this time. And I think it took them a long time of going, yeah, I'm not doing that correctly. and yeah, So again, in that fight, I got to see Mari Giga Drill break an Ava with the Eiffel Tower, and I didn't think that's a statement I ever think I'd get to say.
Once again, the animation and the action is top notch, just primo stuff, and that's also because, granted, they were all given the time and resources, hopefully, to do what they needed to do. They didn't cut away anything. And those designs of the artificial Ava units, the ones with like the basically the walking batteries, and then the one with the giant cannon,
the laser drill, yeah.
Like, they're so cool if you ever get like a chance just to look at them. Like the big cannon one with the tentacle drills are like, it's held up by a bunch of just Ava torsos holding up the cannon, and it just looks great, and the CGI looks great. This is really top tier stuff. You just kind of hope you see this more in the future. This is what it's going to look like.
It is, and it's like, this is, again, we're gonna have a longer conversation about this. I don't know how to tell people to get to this movie, and I'm like, you have to watch this, but I can't just tell someone to watch this.
You really can't. I mean, besides it being a sequel and what have you, but
I've never seen something do this well. Seem like you just said, Cameron. This is the most seamless transition between 2D and 3D, like computers generated animation ever. You're gonna have to work your ass off to do better than this.
Cameron knows how much it bothers me when CG and 2D animation doesn't blend together, and the fact that I did not have that complaint once watching this shows how much they poured into this.
Yeah,
it's all about the time and resources, man, and unfortunately a lot of anime is not able to do that. A lot of times they have to go to CGI route because there's just no time, and they had to redo like a year's worth of work because someone got mad. Or you get Tesla Note and X-Arm, where they just had no idea what they were doing because the studios making them never made anime before.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, and they go to this part, like, they actually show that they can actively fix parts of the Earth. Yeah. That was something that was a big contention point of us kind of like talking through plot points last time, is that like the entire world actually completely isn't fucked. Like, there's chunks of it that can actually live if Wille is able to do what they're trying to do. And because they have these like weird I want to say core generators that they can set up, and they could just at will set stuff up and like take it. Also, before we get away, again, they changed their minds with the preview from the last movie.
Yes.
Remember, we were going to have Unit 8+2 slap together Ava units fighting.
Oh, when that happened, I was just like, well, that's not happening.
I was waiting the whole film. I'm like, wait, hold on. Okay. Unit 2 got damaged again. Wait. Each time, Arnold just went, shit, yeah, I don't want to do that anymore.
So I kind of have to ask, have any of those previews ever been accurate?
The first one.
Oh yeah, the first one.
The first one was a little bit.
But no, the one from the second film, no. The one from the third film, nah.
No. The weird part is, those could have happened. The one in the second film happened, but could have happened, but we didn't see it because they did the time skip.
Right.
Well, and technically, the one from the third film kind of happens with the mass-produced Ava units that we see at the very end with the skulls and the specialty ones.
Yeah,
but it's not the exact same thing, and they didn't just super gorilla glue 2 Ava units together.
Yeah, and I have to commend them. I didn't know they were going to pull it off, but in this fourth film, they finally made Toji sound age appropriate.
Yes, that's one of my notes.
When Toji finally appeared, God, it made me so happy.
Yes.
Well, we all assumed he died or something because of like the random leftover shirt, and then that Shinji got in the third film, and it's like, oh, come on, give this guy a break.
Yes.
No, but as it turns out, he has he's living his best life.
He is. And the show made fun of itself in that scene, and I loved it. Because they go out of the way, he's like, yeah, I'm married and I got a wife. And he comes through, and this is, what's her name?
Hikari.
Oh, yeah, class rep. Yeah, you remember?
Hikari.
He had to tell Shinji it was the class rep, because Shinji didn't recognize her by her name.
Well, to be fair, Shinji was just a miserable pile of sadness, so he maybe had no time. Had no time, but still.
In the show, they had to say no one remembers her name.
That's true.
And Ida even is alive too.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
Of course he was.
And he's the guy like fixing all the problems. The one dude who never piloted an Ava was like, yeah, dude, I just help everyone.
I don't work for the government, but I just help around, and that's my exchange for living here.
Exactly.
I gotta say, I really like the scenes in the village, in part because it kind of reminded me of a Studio Ghibli film.
It felt very much like something you would see in like what was Only Yesterday, or like My Neighbor Totoro, or like something like Wolf Children from Hosoda, where it was just people living life and just rebuilding and repopulating and such. Like, it was just nice, just after whatever the hell that hot mess of a third film was of nonsense.
And they mentioned something when they find Asuka, who is just allergic to wearing a bra for whatever reason.
Well, just clothes.
Because like she'll wear panties. Because again, it's just, we had to take one of the articles off apparently, and apparently it's easier to animate a jacket than it is to put a skirt on. But anyway, she always has that somehow battery operated Winkendo or whatever that thing is.
Oh no, that thing. It took me the whole movie to find out to realize what that was. I think that's a Wonder Swan.
Oh, that could be. That's true. I didn't think about that.
Because that thing was way more popular in Japan than I think they tried to bring it over to the US, and everyone's just like, "What the hell is that? I got a Game Boy. Put that thing away."
They had that old thing, but at the end they had PS4 controllers attached to cameras for some reason.
Okay.
I was like, what the hell is up with this?
We'll get to that scene later, but I saw that and I'm like, what? What is that? But yeah.
By the way, Asuka says like, it's tedious to be around other Lilin. So it's just like, is that the first time we've heard her like mention humans as Lilin?
She did in the third film.
Okay.
That's when she started being all whatever about Lilin. And there's something that someone brought up that kind of hinted at what we find out about Asuka at the end of the film.
Oh, and why she has the eye patch?
Well, the eye patch, and also the fact that she's a brr. But anyway, you talk about how they had the inhibitors.
Yeah.
They finally mentioned that they actually have human growth inhibitors in them to pilot Avas.
Yeah.
So that they don't reach human limits, so that they could pilot them as long as need be.
Oh,
so that's the curse.
Yeah, they mentioned that.
I must have missed that because I was just like sitting there like, man, this is a good movie. They're still going on about that Curse of Ava BS.
They talked. Well, it makes sense in the long run of like, because LCL is going to screw somebody up. But she was talking with Rey about Rey having her feelings for Shinji, and then she's like, I don't do that. And then they talked about how that the inhibitors all them have so that they don't reach the human peak of like emotion, so that they don't get screwed up and like I want to say when they're inside where they're sync, where they don't feel emotion to like drag them out of the scene that they're in so that they can concentrate in piloting. And they showed it a little bit with Asuka's scene at the end, which they didn't do a thing about Asuka's flashback. And I was so fucking happy. So happy.
Oh,
they mentioned that it happens, but they don't mention that it happens.
By the end of it, with all that flashback stuff, I was just like, are we sure this isn't just whatever took her away in the Ava unit thing? Yeah.
They
like just messing with her. Yeah.
No, but like this made more sense and it was a better way of showing it, honestly.
Of course.
They also show that and it made sense because you never saw Asuka's neck in the last film, that she had one of those DSS chokers on.
Yeah.
It wasn't just Shinji. They're like, anyone in an Ava is getting that fucking choker. They just decided to be like, hey, dude, we're just going to show you getting it.
Yeah.
So they get, but, and watching Ren planting gosh dang it. I can't think of what she's planting. My mind is blanking.
It's like rice, I think.
Like rice, but
it looks like rice fields. But
watching her with the plug suit and the bonnet and the sleeves, like she doesn't have regular clothing, and when she finally gets regular clothing, it had to be, of course, the same
school uniform.
School uniform.
Yeah.
Because why not?
It's her look. They have to.
Yeah.
I liked her little arc in the village where she was just kind of learning self-awareness and just like self-realization of just be you and not some puppet that nerve controls. And really that was like I think the best part of the scene, like the whole story bit, and just her like just realizing her dynamic with Shinji, and then that ending, what happens to her.
Yeah,
just like, oh yeah, I can't live outside of Nerve. Yeah. And then her dark plug suit turns white, and then she turns into goop.
Yeah, and that was like watching her learn how to like feel emotions and like bond with the kid and asking him for a name and all. It's just that I did not think I needed a chunk of like 45 minutes of Evangelion of like Rey learning what human life is.
And something I really appreciate is how everyone around her was being so patient, especially like Hikari, who's like, just basically explaining the world to Ayanami as if she was like a child.
Yes. And she's like, why do you say goodnight? Well, it's because we hope that they sleep good and we see them later. Why do we say goodbye? And then the note, goodbye, good morning, thank you, because that's like the only human explanation she got. I was like, oh, that's really heartbreaking. Everything you taught her, you used to say goodbye to her.
No, this is like the most emotionally invested I've been in with Evangelion. Like, same. I wasn't just like, oh yeah, no, I get what the story's going for her and the action's pretty good. I was always at like an emotional distance with the franchise, and then these films came out, and I was just like, I'm in. Like,
yeah, and they actually like bring up why Masato was so pissed at him, and she's like, I'm not telling you to not pilot an Eva again because I feel like I fucked up, and I'm not going to go out of my way to explain that I fucked up because I kind of cheered you on to do this in the first place.
Yeah.
So she's basically masking her emotions by acting all stern and emotionless, and Ritsuko's like, yeah, I see right through that bullshit.
Yeah, and even like Asuka says, like, dude, she realizes that she told you to go fuck up, and you fucked up, and now she feels like she made you fuck up.
Right.
And a bunch of this is like, oh wait, not everyone's pissed at Shinji all the time. people are actually acknowledging that the damn kid is trying. God forbid that's all this series needed was someone to finally say, Shinji, we're happy you're trying.
It was just nice because after like the first film, the third film, when everyone was just extremely hostile towards him, and it's just like, okay, take a chill pill. You're dealing with a kid who just went through a 14-year time skip, and none of you are explaining anything. And now there's just humanity within everyone.
Yeah.
It's just nice. It's just like, it's probably a thematic thing. I was just kind of getting tired and impatient with the disconnect with everything. Like,
I hear what you're saying, and this is why throughout watching the show, I have been... Shinji's arc has been a test of patience, because while emotionally I understand and can empathize what he's going through, externally, like with pacing and all of that, it gets frustrating when sort of the same story beats are repeated over and over. And I hate to bring up Gurren again, but
I don't.
One last time.
One last time for this series.
Get her out.
I fucking hated Rossiu when he was at his Rossiuest, but at least that was like a 5-episode chunk out of what is otherwise a pretty upbeat series.
Yeah.
And Gurren has always kind of been like Evangelion, but in the major key.
Mm-hmm. You're not far off. And it's just like, it gets to the point of where everyone finally got like the ending is coming, and then it's kind of that release where it goes, all right, we finally just need to get on the same page that everyone is screwed up. We're getting out that everyone is going through shit, and we should probably level out the playing field before we get to this end, because Shinji's not going to help anyone. Shinji openly went in with the DSS choker, got like admitted all this. Well, they actually didn't put one on him until the very end, but it's like he went in, admitted to it, and he's like, I'm done. It's whatever you guys want. I want to help. I don't know how I can, but when Shinji Ikari starts becoming the voice of reason, the show is becoming a little bit more even-keeled.
Yeah, right.
And also, they had the check. We had the old religious reference chart. We didn't have the arc on there yet. Check!
Yep.
And before they leave, you had to have the girls go talk to Shinji. And I love how they do a callback joke at the very end. And part of me thinks that we'll get into it. And I read some stuff online that a lot of people agree with what this was. They have Mari quite a lot show interest in Shinji.
Yeah.
He's kind of the whatever. And I'm very okay with that. She's the one with the least baggage out of everybody. They go out of their way to make her not have baggage.
Yeah.
And then Asuka goes in there and after he's just like, I wanted to pelt you, right? He's like, because either way I didn't do something and I wouldn't decide. You guys were mad at me for being indecisive. You're like, yes.
I love that.
That is the core of the entire series. And then she's like, I really appreciated that shit you did for me with the box lunch. I kind of had a crush on you once. Asuka shippers going off all around the world.
Yeah. No, good on them for actually like talking and such. And I'm actually kind of okay with Shinji. Like, let's not talk about the ending right now.
We'll
get there.
I want to, but
who's there? Glasses, big boobs, rooftop girl.
Can you at least know her name, Shinji? No.
I don't know if he ever got told it. I'm going to be honest. That's what's
did.
Did he? Like, I'm trying to think. Like, not even a second film. Like, or was that just like, hey, stuff is about to go? Oh, okay, yeah. Never mind. Mari came in on the rooftop, And that was when like that angel was just kind of kicking ass and telling everyone to get the hell out of its way to get to Nerve.
And then after that, she just called him Doggy that entire time.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that was his pet name.
Whatever. I have a few ideas, but I'm not going to say them here. Despite our massive amounts of cursing, family show. No.
Family show my ass.
It's a no family show. But yeah. Then, like, exposition dialogue out of the way, we get toward the end, and I say toward because a lot happens toward that.
The third ending.
They remembered this was a Gaelic show originally because they pull. Here's the last time I'm going to mention it. The most Gurren thing I've seen in a non-Gurren TV show outside of me just finally watching all of Kill la Kill. When they go fire all of the long-range munitions, what do? They just fire battleships with jet engines at the Nerve headquarters.
They use battleships very differently now in like the post-apocalypse or whatever. Just like they use them as shields, they use them as jet engines, and then just big old rockets.
I laugh so fucking hard.
It's like what's in our arsenal? Ships. And that's it. Ships.
We fired them underwater. There's no reason we can't strap some rockets to them.
No, that was just very funny to me. Just it's like they took a bunch of battleship Yamatos and used them as shields.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
And I put in my notes like this is the best battleship Yamato film I've seen.
You're not wrong. Really.
Oh gosh, but so now then they have Ava Unit 2 and then 8, right? Yeah, okay. Yep. I'm just making sure I got the numbers.
Most epic
fight,
off the wall fight against that swarm.
So many guns and so many rockets attached to Unit 2, which I'm like,
and so many explosions.
Oh, it brought back like I don't know if any of y'all remember Zoids and like one of the
the
female.
I remember Zoids.
Well, it's just like what the tough girl character from the main cast had like a Zoid.
Lena with her gun raptor.
Yeah, with all the guns on it. Instead of, even though that thing was supposed to be a sniper, giant sniper rifle.
Mike, for those that don't know. I can't. It's a gun raptor. I can't remember exactly what it's called. It's a sniper something, but it's basically a raptor where it looks like a raptor, but when you want to snipe, it sits on its haunches and its tail becomes a giant sniper rifle, and the chair turns and you aim it like an actual sniper rifle. It's meant for long range shooting.
Yeah.
But Lena, who used to have this like bull thing that had these big gun turrets on it. She takes this small frame itty bitty raptor Zoid and puts Gatling guns, sat turrets, and all sorts.
Are you talking about the Rev Raptor?
Rev Raptor, thank you.
They're they're called gun snipers.
Sniper, okay, but it looks like a Rev. Oh, it's a little bit chunkier than a Rev Raptor, and it doesn't have the side blades, but
but still, the point is they shoved as many guns and weapons as they possibly could onto Asuka's Ava units, and we do finally get to see the return of the mass-produced Avas, not those same ones from End of Evangelion.
Yeah, they were Ava 7 series.
Yeah, let me see. I have the wiki up for that. Ava units Mark 7, and they were so creepy looking. Those with the skulls, just
yeah.
And then they made a very Studio Trigger thing by making a giant, big old drill.
Yeah. And anytime I see drills now, like Gurren is like the first thing that comes to mind.
Because I can't help it. My brain is like, I just can't. Anytime I see a giant a drill being used, or a giant ship that is meant for transportation used as an object to split something open, I just can't not see Gurren.
Quick aside, there's an anime that we covered on the fall anime preview called Sakugan.
It's a good one.
Yeah, it's. I can't say it's like completely Gurren inspired, but there's one particular moment involving a drill that like that immediately made me think of you.
Oh, of course.
Oh yeah, I think we'll have to do that for fresh takes. I think you'll like this
person.
Yeah,
I'd be up for it, sure.
No, and it was kind of interesting because like in the end of Evangelion film, those mass-produced Evas were like beasts, monsters, like they couldn't die. And they just made a bazillion of them in this movie, and then they just go down like a fly, just swat.
Yeah. Do any of you guys play Metal Gear? Or have seen
yeah, I haven't in a while.
I'm vaguely familiar with like.
Okay, so I want to say they're called miniature geckos, but like the little black balls with the black arms that like walk around like this, they look exactly like those weird little Eva units. What is this?
Oh yeah, they made those little explosive Ava units when they got to the like core thing.
Little itty-bitty daggers on them. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
I like how they whip out the knives like it's West Side Story and it's a switchblade trying to like kill something.
Hey, it could have been worse. It could have been a box cutter.
They never went back on the prog knives. I was so proud of them. So proud.
I mean, hey, if they've seen The Night Comes for Us, they would probably go back to the box cutter knives.
Probably would.
If you know about that movie, you know about the third act. I will say that's all I'll say.
hey, Mike. So all of us collectively said we have no idea why Asuka got an eye patch because they were just like, oh, she got damaged because they ate the capsule. And then I always thought to myself, I'm like, but she only got an eye patch. Hey, Mike, what was behind that eye patch?
That huge, what was it, like the anti-generator or whatever?
It was a capsule of angel blood, from what I gathered.
Yeah, no, that's what I put down. I was just like, angel blood? What?
She's like code whatever, and then she had a Looney Tunes anti-pocket where she just took that out of her head.
I don't even want to know how she got that, but
and the worst part was she still had her eyeball.
All I could think about was that Futurama episode where they get stuck at the bottom of the sea and Professor Farnsworth pulls out this big old black egg and he's like, good news, if you take this you'll be able to breathe underwater. Okay, what else is there? What else is, what's the catch? It's a suppository.
Of course.
I felt so bad because that's all I could think about, just hearing Billy West in the background.
Dear God. Yeah.
But a few little notes that I forgot to mention. We finally get to see those headless Ava units
roaming around.
Yeah, roaming around, and they treat them like they were like Titans from Attack on Titan or something like.
What thing I was thinking of when Shinji and what was his friend's name? Kensuke.
Yeah.
When they were seeing like the angels roaming, I thought to myself, they move in herds. They do move in herds.
Yes, they do move in herds. Holy fucking shit! It's a dinosaur.
And somehow through all of this just shenanigans, Pin survived, or relative of Pin.
There was all the penguins from that nature reserve. Apparently, only the penguins survived. I love that because, I always pictured when that went down, I was like, Pin was like, "Yo, some shit's gonna happen when this goes off. There's a tunnel underneath the thing."
Pin is the best character.
He is.
Yeah. Man. So back to the.
Asuka becomes an angel.
Yeah, and tries to kill what was it, Unit 13?
Unit 13. And they wanted this to happen, apparently.
How many steps ahead did Gendo plan all of this? Because he planned way too far ahead for his own good. Granted, he has a huge hole in his face now, so
he's the comic version of Cyclops, which for those of you that don't know, when I say the comic version of Cyclops, they went so fucking stupid with him eventually, and you can look this up. I'm not lying. Cyclops originally was just a guy with a mutant ability to shoot laser beams out of his eyes. They retconned it at one point to where his eyes were the gateway to a planet that just shot perpetual energy. And if he opened his eyes, the energy came out. It's the stupidest retcon I ever heard.
Why would you overcomplicate that? Oh my god.
I don't know.
And people wonder why comics are kind of hard to get into. When you get that nonsense, good lord.
That is up there with Spider-Man giving birth to himself to get organic web shooters. It's up there. I'm not lying about that one either.
No, I know very much about that one.
But,
so first of all, when they take care of all those mass unit Ava units, well, first of all, that whole sequence when Asuka gets like double-bladed chainsaw weapons. Oh,
yeah.
That was metal.
That was metal. And then they use their AT fields just to crush that drill. And I was like, oh, they're not going to get out of that. And then they do by just smashing the drill. Oh, it was so cool. But yeah, so anyway, Asuka turns into an angel to try to take down Unit 13. And I feel so bad for her. Like, oh, gosh, it's like the movies finally made her way more interesting. And then she gets like turned to goop by like. So, okay. Well, yeah. Okay. The spoiler tag is up. Was she a clone?
This is what I'm gathering here, and I'm not going to say it fully at the end, but there's another thing that goes on with Mari, is that this person, when I was looking at some stuff, and that it goes in with Mari about how Mari is a thing that we'll go into at the end. They changed Asuka's name, Rei Ayanami, which keep in mind, Ayanami is a name that was Yui's. And this time they switched it so that Gendo was named Akari. Yui, it's now Rei Ayanami. They then changed it to Asuka Makanami. Oh, no, sorry. Asuka Shikanami.
Yeah.
And then Mari's last name is Makanami. People, and she is a clone because they show her in tubes at the end.
Right.
That she was a version of a pilot that whatever. But they think that, and again, he talks about them being two pilot versions that they basically bred to use in this. So she came from the same situation, I feel, because they show her picking her up in that she never got to talk with her parents and all this. And then she got shipped off to be an Ava pilot. Now she's trained to be nothing but an Ava pilot. But yeah, they make her a clone this time. I didn't see that happening, but it kind of in a way makes sense. That they wanted to, because again, biblical reference chart, the horsemen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. When Gendo apparently has these 3 or 4 giant ships or whatever, and then they all have like a special Ava unit, which those look pretty cool. But yeah, it's just like, I got a little frustrated with this part, not just because it's like, oh, look at these cool Ava units. Too bad we couldn't get those. It was just like Gendo's the right hand guy, the one who
Fuyutsuki.
Yeah, where he was just like, we just gotta have you indulge in Gendo's shenanigans a little more. And it's like, oh, you're finally doing something.
Well,
good job.
In the movies, they haven't had to have him do much because, to be honest, in the original series, he was kind of just the guy that went, yeah, Gendo's being a douchebag. Oh, and by the way, I also wanted to sleep with Yui. That's kind of what it was. Yeah, and like they got toward the end there where like all this stuff is happening and everyone is screwed. And then out of the locker room comes Shinji Ikari to a chorus of cheers to be like, no, let me fix this, please. You're okay. He's like, I am perfectly fine. This is a thing between me and my dad. I'm taking over the burden. Stop being mad at yourself. Shinji Ikari is talking to someone else about not being upset with themselves for others' actions.
Yeah.
Character growth.
It took 20 years!
No, it was... Shinji was great. Like, at first it was just like, oh my gosh, I get it. You are sad because it seems like everything you do messes and makes things worse, but stop it.
Yes.
And then but then it's just like, yay! Like he actually has some agency, and it's not just being pushed around.
No, and then like he's so good that, man, okay, I promise this will be the last time that I mention Curran. I swear to God. This is pretty much at the end when Genome turns himself into spiral energy after he suffers quantum breakdown, and Simone takes the energy, and the spiral matrix goes completely rainbow and like explodes at him. Like they have the moment where Shinji's so in tune with himself, he's like, I thought you said he had a 0 sync rate. No, he has the closest thing to 0. He has an infinite sync rate. He's that much finally having himself figured out. I was like, oh, so you're talking about a guy who finally figured his life out, or figured out what he wants from his life. Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta say that was pretty badass.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was fun.
And again, man, I don't mean to sound disingenuous, but Yui is heralded as probably the best woman in all of anime, according to this freaking show, because Gendo is destroying the entire world and like they finally explain what the Human Instrumentology Project is in a little bit better of a form in this film, is that you get to remake the world exactly how you have in your mind when it happens. And they tried to explain that in End of Evangelion, but they didn't do it particularly well.
No.
They do it here that's why he's getting rid of the spears, because he's like, if I do this, no one can stop me, and it's going to happen the way that I want. So it's like, I want no racial disparity, no this and that. Oh, no, hold on. We got to get some stuff before that. But yeah, he literally did this entire thing for Yui. He didn't care about anybody else. He was being selfish, which, again, because he's like, this is why I don't like children, because they're a pain in my ass.
Golly, Gendo. Like,
don't forget that he turned into Cyclops. Yeah, we mentioned that.
No, yeah, we did, but
I wasn't going to say this, but I have to do it one more time. Gendo is the worst, but and we'll get to it. But he's not 100% the worst, only 99%.
Oh no, I'm still saying he's the worst. No.
He gets better.
Or at the very least 99.999999.
Fair enough.
Better. He is the worst at one point, but gets better.
Only like 1% better, or just 1 minuscule percent better. I'm just saying, if he wanted to do this to get back with Yui, he should have chose a different profession, and they probably shouldn't have been trying to play with God. Okay, I'm just saying. You didn't have to.
What other profession is he going to be able to remake his wife? What other choice did he have?
Maybe just if he wanted human connection, he should have just been like, "Hey, Shinji, you want to?"
He didn't want human connection. He wanted Yui connection.
I know. I'm just saying, if he wanted human connection, all he had to do was go to the next thing he had that was related to him and be like, "Hey, you want to toss the old baseball around?"
That's part of how they fix the plot at the end.
Yeah,
honestly,
first of all,
it is.
They try. Well, first of all, you think it's going to be like this big dragged out fight between father and son. No, it's family counseling that's going to save the day.
They do have a fight, and I will admit where it's one of those things where it's like, no, we're going to fight. We're evenly matched. We can't do this. I'll admit, I had to pause the movie because when they go from fighting in the city to randomly, they're both holding spears at each other inside of Masato's kitchen. I was laughing so freaking hard.
And then there's a point where like I thought they were breaking the fourth wall, and after the kitchen breaks, it looks like they're in a studio, like a film set.
Yeah, they are, because they're showing that, like, they're displaying, because they kind of talk about how they're on the metaphysical plane basically, and how they're showing. Well, that's what it all was, because they're past the point of no return with this, which makes sense if you're
no return. No, I get it, but it's just like, oh, well, yeah, they got onto that one big spear-like object or whatever. And then it's just like, now we're in dreams and reality combined into one, and then it's just like, okay.
And if you're in something where you're going to remake reality, I mean,
it made sense. I'm just saying, it's just like. My problem with Ano sometimes is that he gets that Mamoru Oshii like tick in his neck where he's like, I'm going to make things so philosophical sounding, so wordy that it's just you're going to have to either be on for that ride or just check out. This is why I love Oshi's work, but trying to sit down with Ghost in the Shell with some people, it's just like I constantly have to be like, don't worry, Ghost in the Shell is really good, but they're just talking and they're talking philosophical quandaries and morality and such. It's like, yeah, but it's going to be really good. Anno falls into that a couple times, but I feel like he kind of pulls himself out of it enough to still make it make sense. Not full sense, but a little more
sense enough that you can still even just like slightly connect with the characters emotionally.
Yeah. And can we also just like, and they basically make it to the point where it's like you get granted a wish where you get to remake the world perfectly. That's what this is all going to be. And then they start remaking it. And again, I still don't know why they had to have the giant ray, but they had it. And it is the creepiest version of that giant ray they've ever made.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's CGI. That's why it's creepy.
I get that, but man, I didn't. And then like they got all of them holding hands with that music playing as they're just rotating around and just.
Oh gosh. Woo! Well, first of all, that nonsense with like this is the Evangelion imagery that lives between reality and dreams, and it's like okay, fine. You had to use what was it, the Lilith model again or something like that, and they just painted it black with just a mask.
Well, yeah, and I guess it's basically you're going to make the new angel because that's what remakes every type of living being. Yeah, so you're basically, because humans were originally came from an angel, so it's basically okay. You're remaking an angel. What is it? It's that thing. What are you making it?
Okay, so yeah,
that's what I got out of that.
Yeah, so this is what Gendo describes it as. It's imaginary and fictional and does not exist in our world. Only humanity who can believe equally in both fantasy and reality can perceive this Eva. Okay, yeah. Gendo. Yeah. Once again, you could have just, not let your wife get killed, but whatever. So.
Well, to be fair, his wife volunteered for the project this time around.
I know. I'm just saying he dooms the world 3 times over.
Anime's gonna anime, man. That's all
I know. It's just like sometimes my tolerance for anime is gonna anime. It's just like it teeters. It's almost like a boiling pot of water with the lid going like up and down and all around. Yeah. But for as messy as this third act is, I mean, we'll talk more about it, but I do think it still ends well, but we'll get to that when we get to that. It does.
Mm-hmm. And you have a weird scene where they have Jasmari be the plot point person where it's like, I'm not going to explain how I got here, but I'm here to do the thing. She gets into there with Fuyutsuki, and he's just like, yeah, I got all that shit you wanted. Gendo fucked up. You can go save it if you do blank. He goes, thanks. You're welcome, Mary Iscariot, and then turns into Fanta, and she leaves.
Hold on, time out. Iscariot.
I know exactly what you were going to bring up, and I will bring that up later because it's in an article that I found that someone made an idea. I know exactly what you're going to fucking say.
Okay, continue.
And I will let you say that, but you're going to make a biblical reference.
I'm just putting it on the checklist for now.
Oh, don't worry. I can't believe it blew my damn mind when that finally came up. I was like, they never mentioned him. How on God's green earth did they never mention him? But for anyone who's keeping track, I will give you a lot of good points if you remember, because they don't mention that dude's last name very much. I had in my notes, they had to get the one in where they mentioned Longinus, but like they have Misato stay behind to make this new spear.
Yeah, let's see. There's the Spear of Hope. There's the Spear of what was the second one?
One was Hope and one was Despair.
Despair, like cynicism and all that. It's more than cynicism, but.
And then this new one was kind of like a linkage of both.
Yeah,
kind of.
Because as they say in the movie, living in life is all about balancing out the good with the bad. You can't just have one or the other.
So the lance that they're creating is called the Lance of Gaius.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they give that to him so that they can talk about bringing about his version. And one thing that we need to talk about in this ending, that how they fixed it from the other two versions, is that in the other two versions, they weirdly made fixing Shinji the plot point. And
which is the wrong approach.
It's the wrong and the right approach, but you don't make Shinji the end game. You make Shinji the guy that fixes the end game. And then when Shinji gets better, who's the person that they kind of act like Shinji's been the one causing issues? It's been Gendo the entire time. And like he basically the entire show, it's like, yeah, Shinji doesn't understand human contact. Shinji doesn't do this, that, and that, and that. And then they finally get to the end, and they're like, Gendo did this whole thing to try and get Yui back, and then he finally has a one-on-one, not being a dickhead conversation with his son, and he's like, this entire time, I wanted to get Yui back, and then partway through this, he can't find Yui in this entire thing. He cannot figure out where her soul is because she's somewhere inside Unit 1. He can't figure it out. He just knew that she got fused with Unit 1 somehow.
Yeah.
And then eventually he finds out that Yui was with Shinji the whole damn time. And he kind of just went, oh, I shouldn't have been trying to remake my wife this whole time. And I could have lived my life with my son. And I'm selfish. I am worst anime dad ever. I'm going to walk out the door.
Yeah.
It's just... It's like, it's one of those things where they finally realized Shinji was the hero that was fixing someone else after he found out what problems were, and he tried to talk to someone else who was having the exact same damn problems as him.
Yeah.
They finally figured it out. They took over 20 years, but they figured it out.
Yeah. It did.
And like, he makes everyone better. Like, Asuka, she just wanted to be something without Pilot and Ava. They go back and even show the scene on the beach. That was pretty good. Didn't have to have her choke her because, again, that didn't make sense. They, everyone got better. They even had Ryoji in there for crying out loud for a little bit and Kaoru for a little bit. Like, he goes out the door, hey, remember me? How I was really important? We're going to talk for a little bit. What do you actually want?
Oh,
and that was a really nice exchange between those two.
It was.
Well, and also Misato goes out like the badass that she is.
Yeah.
Oh God, and the scene with like just knowing how, like, with her son and knowing what happened.
We forgot to mention. Yeah, she had a kid.
Oh yeah, my bad.
Kaji.
I was supposed to mention that. Like, even in the group chat, I'm like, wait, Kaji Jr.?
Yeah, that's crazy to me. I was like, oh yeah, they have sex, but it was just like, oh, okay.
And y'all caught that, like, the part of the products that they were given by Ida and whatnot were like either codename or nickname Watermelon.
Yeah.
To go back to Ryoji.
Good.
And
yeah.
And you do actually get to see what happens to Ryoji, because otherwise I kind of labeled him in my notes like the king of dying off screen.
Yeah. And like they always were like, hey, he died saving the Instrumentality Project. And I'm thinking back in my head watching that second film, I'm like,
when?
What? You're like, oh.
And then they show, like, it's implied he got in one of the ships, but then still sacrificed his life.
Yeah. And that final talk with, like, and he has everyone left, and the only person left on the stage, again, after they show the handheld cameras that were held by PS4 controllers, which is the most just weird thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
We had something that, I'm so stupid that I never realized what the name of the show meant, but we had one thing I'm going to show on the left here hit me like a brick wall, and the second hit me again. That was just so simple. That showed the over 20 years it took to get here. It was just mental to me. They're like, I'm going to make a new world. what are we going to call it? And all they do is show the old name of the show on that back wall on a film strip.
Yeah.
And I almost started crying. I'm just like, that's got to feel so freaking good for Ano after all this time. And then they just show what they were trying to get was this damn kid be happy with all of his old friends in the old animation style.
Yeah. That was cool, by the way, when you see Shinji on the beach and they cut out like it's like they're going reverse with like, okay, so all the colors gone, all the layers are gone. Now it's just pure 2D animation. And oh, that looked pretty. I loved it.
Oh, it did. And then they have Mari again, who is always the like, dude, I'm going to come. You wait for me. And she's like, okay, I will. And then she's the one that snaps him back out of just wishing the world away, kind of.
Yeah.
Weirdly. And then tells him, he's like, no, we still got something. Let's go. I told you I'd come back for you. And then it cuts to that train station, which, oh yeah, by the way, fucking Mari jumps out of her Ava. It cuts back to color.
Yeah.
And she goes, thank you, Unit 8 plus 9 plus 10 plus 11 plus 12.
That part was funny. I mean, I get it, but still.
Just like Unit 8 through 12. If you're gonna say anything, she had to say all of it. And it's one of those things where they weren't even matching mouths because it's her looking and you don't even see her mouth movement. So she could have just said anything they wanted, but they said the thing. And
yeah, they said 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Yep. But they have everyone as adults. And I didn't I saw Asuka in there, but I couldn't see who she's talking to. You had Rei and Kaoru.
Yeah, they're just there.
Just there, like, being friends, and it looked like they were holding hands, talking next to each other.
Yeah.
Shinji just sitting on a bench. Everyone grown up, by the way, which was great.
I'll be honest, I didn't recognize that was him at first. I thought it.
Did y'all see?
It looked
was
more
Asuka
like
there?
Gengo.
I can't remember if Asuka was. She had to be off to the right. Like when you're looking at the shot, she had to be off the right with somebody.
I didn't spot them fast enough, and this was like early morning for me, so I was watching this earlier today, so it's been like 8 hours.
And, and then they have Mari come up. He's like, guess who? He's like, glasses, big boobs. You could know my name by now.
That's what I said. I was just like, just say your name.
And
oh my gosh.
And then they basically have her go, you smell more like an adult. And he's like, you look as cute as ever. I'm like, did Shinji just flirt with someone?
I think something happened. Well, of course, obviously something happened, but no, it's just like either it's like a lot of time has passed. Let's just say that they finally were able to grow up, and now it's like they've obviously hooked up. Well, which I'm sure a lot of shippers, because I think a lot of people wanted Kaoru and Shinji to be a thing. But I don't think that was ever going to be a thing. But
I don't think that was going to be a thing, and I honestly don't even know if they hooked up or how they did, or if Shinji just wished that they were able to be adults.
Either way, I'm fine with how everyone ended up. But
exactly. And then I was talking with a friend of mine, the only other friend I know that has seen these, and I'm just like, tell me if you agree with me this. And he's like, okay, do you think that they had this whole kind of assumption that he's romantically linked with Mari because she is the one person that has the least amount of baggage? Like everyone has things going on that make them have to go off and do their own things, and Mari was kind of the one that was just always helping Shinji.
I think that might be the thing. Just like give him someone who just kind of loves him unconditionally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Because it's like what Shinji needed was someone with more of a, I guess I would label it as like an emotional connection, like not just someone to be there for like emotionally supportive and such. Yeah. Because if they wanted to make a romance out of that, these movies did a piss poor job of having them connect.
Yeah. And I don't think it was ever, it's like, it was always she thought he was cute. And then I think it took, honestly, even for Shinji, it took someone going, hey, I'm interested in you. Just be okay with that, okay? And he goes, okay.
In a very Shinji style.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much kind of what they got from that, where it's like someone who's going to date Shinji is very much going to be the one that is pushing the buttons to be like, we're going to date. And then I'm watching that scene over again to see if I see Asuka. There's Shinji. There's Kaoru there. Asuka is there. She's sitting on a bench behind Kaoru and Rei, and they're on the other side of the tracks opposite of Shinji. So everyone that Shinji was involved with outside of Mari is on the opposite side of that railroad track.
Interesting.
Now,
I like that.
Mike, why is the name Iscariot a thing?
So you guys know Judas Iscariot, right?
The classic traitor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So from an article that I looked up, and it was always weird to me, I think that Mari's a clone. Fall with me on this.
Okay.
So it's clear that the backstory with Mari is really weird because they show pictures of like which kind of makes this weird. When Shinji's born, there's a person that looks identical to Mari there.
Oh yeah, that's right. I was thinking like, are they just screwing with the memories at this point? Because I thought I saw Mari show up at one point during Gendo's rough pencil sketch art school flashbacks.
She does. She does a couple of times. And I was looking it up to make sure, and it's like Fuyutsuki calls her Mary Iscariot. The name serves a double biblical reference to Mary Magdalene and Judas Iscariot. The latter references implies that Nerves used her as a traitor, making matters even weirder for Gendo's flashbacks to see a woman who looks identical to Mari, if not Mari herself, interacting with a younger Gendo, maybe even introducing him to Mari. Now, why someone pointed this out to me and sent me a message, again, when I mentioned with their name changes, of why I think Mari is a clone. Because they changed everyone's names to end in like basically a file code.
Right.
Rei Ayanami, Asuka Shikanami, and Mari Mikanami.
Right.
They're all basically like file names. So I don't know if like she was the first test pilot for an Eva and she just stayed young, or she's a clone.
Well, knowing that like
those inhibitors get into you, you stay the age you were when you got to start being an Eva pilot. And if she was there when Shinji was a kid and they introduced them, she would know him, which I hope she's a clone, because if they're romantically interested, that makes that really weird.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. No, I think I'm going to assume it's a clone.
I'm going to, for my
because Anno is not going to explain this.
No.
Because otherwise that would be really crummy with how everything unfolds at the end, where it seems like Shinji and Mari are a couple. And
I'm okay with Mari being a clone for that reason alone.
Because otherwise it's like, look at this woman who's stuck in a body. Well, technically they all age at the end, but still it's like, hey, here's this woman trapped in a young person's body in the previous films hitting on a kid. It's just like, okay, I'm going to go over here and call the police.
Yeah. Technically he's legal, but he's stuck in a kid's body. I don't know how they're going to go about that, but it's like, they just,
I'm sure that's I do like that it's like a proper execution of just how they wanted the ending to go. And granted, I had a very loud snickering laugh when all those things were falling back to Earth, like all the humans and such.
Yeah, all the souls going back.
Yeah, all the souls going back. And even though it's supposed to be touching, and it is touching, I did laugh. Just like, so do some of those like splat on the ground? Like
it very much had an Avengers Endgame going, okay, hold on. What if they were in a plane before the snap?
Like I couldn't help but laugh, and I felt so bad because I was emotionally hooked, and like, yay, the world is going back together and such. But still,
yeah, I very much agree. That was something that I was like, okay, they're just not going to address that. And this is something that, like, I don't know a bunch of Anno's work outside of like what he did with Godzilla. And I have to ask, because this is the second time he did this when he thought he was ending Evangelion. Does he have a thing with showing live action footage in his animation?
Not that I know of, because he's prolific. He's worked on like studio, like he's worked on Gainax, he's worked with Ghibli and such, and then he worked like his major series before Evangelion kind of took over his life, for better or for worse, was Nadia, The Secret of Blue Water. And it's been ages since I've seen that. Well, we should probably do a fresh takes on that.
I'd love to do that.
Because it has a really it has a great classic 90s anime style theme song. And it's definitely like one of those, it's like one of those 90s eras action adventure series. So it's nice. Old school kind of stuff. And I just remember apparently something like, from what I remember, fans also had a huge issue with like what happens at the halfway point. Big shock. Anno having 2 series where something happens. Because all I hear is like, oh, the first half's great. Don't watch the second half. And I don't remember enough from that. So I guess he does. I mean, I don't know.
Because this was just like, it zoomed away and then the animation got real weird. I'm like, that looks like a weird mix of okay, it just says live action now.
Well, was it like, you mean I like at the very end and stuff?
The very end when he starts zooming away and he starts seeing like the roads and the road construction and all that. And
I thought that was like CGI and 2D mix, like, and it's just back to like, and it's just like very far away.
It could have been, but it did look a little weird seeing Mari and Shinji running out and like the rest of the background is pretty uncanny.
I'm watching it right now. Hold on. Give me a second. I'm rewatching it right now.
It's tough because I've been watching a few things recently from overseas, like Dynasty Warriors.
Oh boy, I can't share this because this is not going to do it justice. But man,
Eddie,
that's live action. That I don't know why, but that's live action.
Okay,
that's live. Yeah, that's oh boy. I hate that. I get it that I can't just like share it because obviously Amazon has the thing.
Yeah, the anti-piracy thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's this is like the first time at one of these where I finally sat when the credits rolled and I was like, that felt like an ending.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, like that's what I said at the ending. It feels like an honest to goodness ending. Yeah. Not just like, oh, this what like. I like the original show, and to a degree, I like it in Evangelion, but it still felt like something happened, and he was like, "Okay, well, I only have one episode left, so let's cobble together an ending." And then everyone got mad, and of course, he's just like, "Fine, I'll show you a freaking ending." And then, of course, we got the rebuild film. So,
I'll be honest, like comparing this to the ending to the anime, that feels less like an ending and more like we ran a budget. Let's wrap this up.
Yeah, I can see that.
And like this one, like they again don't explain everything, but this kind of just felt like I'm at peace and the world just goes on. Like they're living their lives and you don't need to know what the rest happened. And honestly, I don't know what needs to happen after Shinji and everyone else is happy. I don't need to know what happens. I don't. It's
like it's pretty implied. Shinji's in a much happier place. All the Eva pilots are much happier. Yep. We don't need to have like an epilogue film where like Shinji's made a few babies or something like that.
Yeah. And I think after this movie, Anno needs like a hard stop. Like no more Eva. Don't even do like a live action Shinvangelion or something.
No, I don't. I know he kind of.
No, he needs an Evangelion chibi series. That's what he needs.
Oh yeah, that's what's missing.
Put him in high school. Make an actual high school comedy drama or whatever. Give us his version of Horimiya using the Evangelion.
Did they do something like that with Gundam where they were all chibi things?
Oh yeah. That was I think that was like
That was on Toonami.
Yeah,
well,
it
it's
was,
like
I was like SD Gundam or something.
That wasn't a pipe dream I had. That actually happened.
no, that actually happened. I remember it. I used to be hooked on that show because it was just that was when Gundam was like huge, even though that series was never really that popular. Understandably so now looking back, but it was actually one of the few series that gave Gundam a personality. So, like just in general, and not just man, war's bad.
Did you know putting children into war is a bad idea? Oh shit, they died. I don't know why I turned into Jed Bush all of a sudden.
No, but yeah, this whole hot mess of a journey through a pretty rocky series, through that non-movie, to that other movie, to the rebuild films, even the third one. We're done.
Yep. So Brock, the question.
How's the seatbelt, buddy?
Uh,
You're off the plane now. Do you have are you seasick? Was there turbulence? Are you not lightheaded?
Are you like
What's going
stuck in the seat?
Did you get off the plane? Is a better question.
Yes, the plane has landed. Everyone is safe. Everyone is everyone's bags have been successfully transported.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no. Overall, this has been a long experience, and not just because life happened, but yeah, going through this entire series, it's something that I genuinely recommend that everyone should experience at least once in their lifetime. Even if you don't like anime, or you like anime but you're not really into mechs, or like if you're like super into mechs, then this is one you should watch like immediately.
Go. No, you go ahead.
I don't know if you and me are going to have the same question. This is the last time we're going to discuss this, so I don't know if we could come to a generalized understanding. Do you think, what is the watch order? Do they even watch the two main series movies? Because at this point, I don't even know if they're technically necessary.
I would honestly just skip the TV series unless you just want to see the thing that started it all. Because I feel like going into it, now seeing the 4 movies, it's hard to go back to that TV series.
And that's one thing I'm wondering about. It's like if you're only planning on watching this once, do you think you're gonna feel more elated having watched the original version? And like I honestly feel like I feel better because Anno got his crack at this. Do you think you'll feel better about how it ends with these movies, knowing kind of the struggle that happened with the original series?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to answer that because I went through everything, but I would love if someone were to be a guinea pig and experiment with this, because otherwise I just kind of stand by the fact that you should watch everything, because like this is Anno's like his claim to fame, his, while not always perfect, still his magnum opus.
I just don't know if I could ever recommend watching the TV series after seeing the films. Just because it starts out as such a different show, and then it gets rocky on the second half, and it just became kind of a slog to get through that, because understandably so, what was going on behind the scenes with Anno and Gynax. And seeing, like, it feels like the rebuild films are supposed to be like the definitive version.
Like recommending someone watch Dragon Ball Z Kai as opposed to the original Z.
Oh god, that's like recommending someone if they would like a gourmet meal or getting kicked in the nuts with a jackhammer.
It's like playing an old PS1 game and then playing the reboot of that game and then being like, man, this makes going back to that older game just like a hassle. I don't know if I want to go through that again.
Here's the other thing that makes it weird. And anyone in the comments, let me know if there is any form of media ever that is kind of like this, because I'm blanking. There's certain plot points that we're taking easier because we understand the 4 to 5 steps that help to happen, make that process because we watch the series. Would we have had an easier time accepting some of the horse shit that happens in these movies if we didn't have precognitive, like, understanding of what that whole world is before we watch these movies?
And that's what makes this question so interesting, because on the one hand, four movies versus 26 episodes, like
a non-movie and then a movie.
Yeah, like there are less hours spent watching the rebuild films as opposed to the rebuild films and the anime. But I also feel like if you haven't seen the show, then you probably won't be as emotionally invested in the rebuilds.
And they all, like, there's certain things that to my knowledge they don't even explain in the rebuild because they expect you to understand what it is. They don't go out of their way to even tell you what one of the impacts was.
Yeah, no, that's the only problem, because the rebuild films start out a little rough because Anno wants to get through whatever they need to just to get to the point where he can start going off the rails. Well, not in a negative way, but off the rails.
Where they were before.
Yeah, where they were before, and then go like on the right track instead of the left track to tell the story that he wants to tell. And yeah, because like they rushed through like, what was it, like 5 or 6 episodes in the first movie of plot, but granted, they make the 4th episode way more tolerable instead of someone's college indie film.
And 2 people having sex in a theater and the longest pause at a train station ever. I was like, if y'all have a scene at the end of this film where Shinji and Masato are staring at each other, I was gonna lose my shit when they got to that train station. I was so scared.
No, for some reason it gave me vibes of like Your Name. If y'all have seen that film and such. Just how it plays out in the ending and such, but yeah, I just say watch the rebuild films. It gets better by the 2nd movie. I mean, granted, it craters in the 3rd film, but then the 4th film kind of picks it all back up. Like, I don't think you can do this with, like, you can't watch the Escaflowne movie without seeing the series, because the Escaflowne movie crams the entire series into one movie, and that just doesn't work.
I would say the same thing about the Gurren Lagann movies.
But, I mean, I guess because I haven't seen the Gurren Lagann films, do they feel like they're skipping over too much and they change too much try to make it a movie, or is it just...
In my opinion, the only thing that I'm honestly mad about in the Gurren films is that in the first film they don't do a plot point, which I'll explain this. They have this story that gets told 3 separate times about this situation in a tunnel between Kamina and Simone, and they get told who was more important in that situation, and it gets told by Kamina to Yoko, and then Yoko by Simone to Nia, and then finally by Yoko to everyone else. And it's a big, huge plot point that circles around to Simone finally getting his head out of his ass to help everybody and figure out what Kamino was trying to do for him. They don't show that in the first film that recaps the first half of the series. That is my only gripe with all of those. But what they do is they show enough to where you understand it, and then they're like, hey, we have like 15 times the budget, and we had a good budget before, but now we're going to make them fight scenes look real fucking pretty. And they just redo the ending fight scenes, and then they're just like, here's a thing we didn't have before. Oh, have fun. Oh, throw another thing in there. They do a good job because they do 2 movies to do the whole series.
Right. And they don't like, well, and it's like, yes, the Ava rebuild films take out like a good chunk of the last Angels.
Yeah.
Though they do find time to fit in Joy to the World.
I do like that.
That was great.
No, it's just like, oh, are they going to try to pull a Hallelujah where they have the Hallelujah sequence? And they do.
That.
But I don't miss the other Angels not being there. I think the third film kind of sours that a little because it's just like, oh, here's the last Angel. Okay. Yeah. And then, but it tells a better story and a more cohesive story than what we got in the TV series and then the retcon final film to the TV series.
Yeah.
So I still stand by it. Watch the rebuild films. I just skip the TV series unless you're curious, but that's just me.
My recommendation would be watch the TV series, skip the 2 films, and then watch the rebuilds.
I think I agree with that. If you're gonna skip a movie, skip Death Squared. Because that was just a giant waste of time.
One more time. That's not a movie.
The only thing you're honestly going to miss from End of Evangelion is knowing what they actually do in the Instrumentality Project, which is basically the person in there finding out what's wrong and then kind of fixing themselves and wishing for a better world, which they do that in the ending one. And then the only thing you're going to miss is the weird kind of like Kaoru and Rei having sex with each other in the sky and the giant ray, and you get the giant ray in the other one.
Yeah.
You know what? If you were a fan of unfiltered mass murder of a company, watch End of Evangelion.
Okay.
Because I will say that's probably the bloodiest Evangelion film.
Probably.
Because, like, a lot of things get destroyed in these other ones, but it's not humans. They're just point-blank murking fools through, like, 70% of that End of Evangelion film. And good on them. They took out a lot of inappropriate things that were in the original series, give or take. I don't know what it is about Anno and then showing panty shots of Asuka. Outside of that, they got a lot better with everything else in these films. They didn't have the classic... excuse me, Mrs. Masato, we need to speak with you about some things you said to Mr. Akari. For those of you that don't know that Dateline meme, the Evangelion memes subreddit might be my favorite subreddit ever.
Oh, it's glorious.
It's fantastic. They fire out bangers on an hourly basis. Those people are just geniuses. But yeah, this is the weird thing because like we've done kind of at this point, this will be the 4th fresh take technically because it'll be a series. We've done the 2 movies of Mike's and then Gurren. This felt like a very different like of what I wanted the series as a whole to be, and it's not a bad thing. This felt more like a journey of like trying to understand something versus a journey of trying to like talk about something to someone. So it was a very different experience throughout it. And I'm not upset with that. It was just, it came into something else and I'm okay with how it turned out because it's very much like us trying to understand it as it went through, because there's even stuff where like me and Cameron had seen it and I'm still just kind of like, I'm still going to figure these out as we go along. And then it coincided with us basically almost ending the recordings right as the last movie got released, which was kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah. And we're right about like ending this almost on Thanksgiving, and we ended this on a Sunday. I don't know how much more poetic than on the seventh day got rested that we ended our fresh takes of Evangelion.
Honestly, I don't know if we could have planned this any better.
No, we couldn't have.
No, that was the plan all along, right, guys? Come
Yeah.
on.
Oh,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah, okay, Gendo. But yeah, if anyone has any other comments, I got nothing.
I got nothing.
I think this is a good place to wrap.
That's it.
All right, for one last time, as far as Evangelion is concerned, Cameron, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Cam's Eye View. I have a website called camseyeview.biz where I review animated shows and films from around the world called The Other Side of Animation. I also have a Patreon at patreon.com/camseyeview. And I'm also the co-host of the Renegade Animation Podcast on renegadepopculture.com. That's where you can find me.
Mike, where can they
You guys can find me on Twitter at CaptainK42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And you can find me in all the various Facebook groups just at my name. You can check out Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Twitter at Ren Pop Culture. Look for us on Podchaser. Listen to all of our podcasts on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. Need an escape? So do we.
And you can find me everywhere at Organoid Zero. I'm not going to say exactly what our next fresh take is. I'm just going to give you 2 words, and if you can figure out what it is from there, I give you credit. Red eyes. I will see you guys all later. Thank you for Mike and Cameron for taking this on damn near year-long journey through all of this. The world got crazy for a while. Everyone, bye.
Peace.
No,
Bye.
guys, wait. We cannot end this any other way. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Otto.
Seriously, good